outcomes that are achieved.
Question number 5, the Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Economic Development. Does he accept the findings of the most recent household labour force survey that shows the unemployment rate at its highest level in 13 years? If not, why not?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I welcome the member to his acting role, and I accept that the household labour force survey. Well, another day, another David. Can I say I accept that the household labour force survey is a key indicator of employment and unemployment, although not the only one, and the different measures don't always agree. The latest HLFS, for example, says, as the member points out, that the unemployment rate is at its highest rate since 1999, and yet, for example, the number of people on an unemployment benefit is around 100,000 less than in 1999, despite a big increase in New Zealand's population over that period.
The Honourable David Parker.
How many additional people have become unemployed since he became Minister of Employment in December 2011? Is it 20,000 or 24,000 more?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, it depends on the measure that you use. If you look at the number of people on unemployment benefit, that number has actually dropped over the year to September from 55,700 to 50,400, which is 5,300 less over that same period of time. So it all depends on which figure you use.
Yep. The Honourable David Parker.
Given that the household labour force survey shows 31,600 fewer people employed in manufacturing in the 4 years since 2008, the quarterly employment survey shows 31,000 fewer filled jobs in manufacturing, and the linked employer-employee data set shows 21,000 fewer jobs in the period 2008 to 2011, which is the latest stat. Does he still agree with the Prime Minister that, quotes, "None of the stats that Treasury provided to my office argue the case that there is anything other than actually quite consistent to modest growth in manufacturing"?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, I think the member is once again playing with the start dates to suit his case, which is fair enough. I mean, you do that in his position. But the reality is, over the last couple of years, since the GFC, which hit actually manufacturing right around the world, as Mr. Parker may not be aware, we've actually had a pretty steady result there. And if you actually look at the Reserve Bank report on that same matter, the Reserve Bank said actually the issue is construction, not actually manufacturing. It's a construction business which is the challenge. In other words, supplying of manufactured things for construction. And actually the rest of the manufacturing sector is holding up very well. Who can't do the numbers?
The Honourable David Parker.
Supplementary.
Order.
Does he now regret dismissing...
Order. I apologise to the Honourable Member. Now again I say to National Party front benches, I've been critical of the Labor benches for too much noise, and now it's the National members being too noisy. The Honourable David Parker.
Supplementary. Does he now regret dismissing members who raised the numerous job losses in this House over recent months as being from another planet, which I think is the phrase he has used, given that the statistical evidence now shows that unemployment rose sharply in the third quarter to the highest level in 13 years?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I have not dismissed concerns that have raised about when people lose their jobs, because it is a very difficult situation for those that lose their jobs. The point I am making is that we are in a very challenging situation. We've had some job growth, but not as we would like. But I'd point out to the member, if he is genuinely concerned about unemployment in New Zealand, he should look across the Tasman. Because interestingly, they've lost around 70,000 jobs in manufacturing over the last 3 years, but they've created around 120,000 jobs in the mining sector. And if his member could actually get together with his friends in the Greens and get together with his friends...
Order. That's not the Minister's responsibility. The Honourable David Parker.
If, as the Minister infers, his government has no responsibility for these job losses and rising unemployment, why did his government hold a jobs summit in 2009 when the unemployment rate was 5.1%? And is his failure to call another jobs summit because his government's got no plan to change course, despite rising unemployment, falling exports and the Canterbury Rail Build being the only source of growth in the country?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, I'm sorry, the member again is on another planet, because actually the world has been going through a global financial crisis, and actually he speaks of the Canterbury earthquakes as if that's some lucky thing. In actual fact, for the New Zealand economy and for the people of Christchurch, it's been a very unlucky thing. And yes, we're going to get some benefit out of the post-earthquake construction, but actually it's cost New Zealand and the people of Christchurch substantially, and so it's only proper that they actually benefit in terms of the rebuild. And if the member's saying that that somehow should be discounted away, then truly that is ludicrous.
Question number 6, Chris Ockenfold.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of State Services and reads,